Student Services Committee meeting here in the school district of Menomonee Falls. There is a possibility that a quorum and full membership of the Board of Education may be in attendance at board committee meetings. There will be no full board action taken in any committee meeting. Only members of the committee may vote on any item on the agenda. A live broadcast will be streamed on the school district's YouTube page. To watch the recorded meeting, please visit our SBMF YouTube site. It is 6:34. We are in the Village Upper Hall level conference room 3344, 3345 at W156 North 8480 Pilgrim Road in Menomonee Falls. Mr. Halverson, was the meeting properly posted?
Yes, it was.
All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from the March 18th committee meeting.
I'll motion.
Any seconds?
Yeah, I'll second, sorry.
Thank you.
As just a point of note there, it's May 19th, not Mary 19th.
Yes, May 19th. All right,
Got that one?
any discussion?
We'll be fixing it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion Motion passes. And we are here to hear from our school resource officers and their year in review. Mr. Holtz.
Hi. So again, I'm Scott. I'm one of your SROs. Tonight, I'd like to thank the school board for allowing the police department and my fellow SROs to come on in and give you a little bit of insight of not only, I guess, who we are personally, but our roles and responsibilities, and a little bit of history of our department. I'd like to thank Dan for having Mr. Munoz allow us to come in here and do this. With me today, I have my supervisor, Lieutenant Meinl, and my partners, Nick and Jay, will kind of speak for themselves once we get through the little slide presentation here. So just to kind of give you a little bit of history, I guess, of our agency. So the SRO program is definitely not new. It has been established well over 30 years within our jurisdiction. There's a long-standing history with your organization and ours. It's a great partnership, and we continue to work on improvement every single year. A little bit of history with it is, again, we were one of the first to actually hit the ground running the kickstarts in the state of Wisconsin. So kind of have the backing of that. Each of your SROs that you have a litany of training. You're going to find once you see the years of experience that we have, it's probably one of the, I would say probably is the most experienced within our agency when it comes to a specialized assignment. The big kicker for us is kind of that gold standard is that each of us have the NASRO, the National Association of School Resource Officer Training. It starts off with, it doesn't sound like much, but it's a 40-hour course, and we deal with specifically juvenile law, mental health, de-escalation, and threat assessment. And just like you, there's continuing education every single year through in-service training or conferences that we attend in the summertime. This program alone, again, it speaks for itself, but just kind of some highlights. It has proven to reduce not only crime and violence in the schools, but because of our connection with the kids, and we do call them our kids too, because we do build that much of a bond with them, is that it helps our officers on the street that they have a friendly face that they can, like, yeah, I know Officer Weber, Officer Kapinski, and it makes that bond a lot easier for the street officers. It increases lessons of our citizenship. So as those youths are growing through your community and they get a little bit older and they're out and they're not in your school and they're in all of our communities, right? Hopefully that transitions to a better citizen. With us being in the school, whether we're housed in a school or like in Officer Weber's case, he's a transitional. He's hitting so many schools. It allows essentially your families and us to have that inner relationship that if there's a child victim, that we can protect them a little bit more safer and build that bond, and then use our community resources to help the families and your communities get through things. And again, it kind of says that it empowers the families for that increased access, because we're literally right there. And not only is it a bond with the kids, it's an everlasting bond. From some of you, if you grew up in Menomonee Falls, you still hear stories of OJ being around, and we just had a special event and a Memorial Fest Officer Weber and I were working it, and I had a graduate of the Falls High School like 5 years ago came up to me, and we had some tough times that she had to deal with on a personal level, and worked through it with her and her family, and she was grateful to kind of show me like she's grown into a young woman in college. So it's there's a lot of good stories. Here's a little bit about us and some of our responsibilities, on a widespread form. So we do work with the teachers in our respective schools, depending on our age groups. We partake in different educational moments. We provide them lesson plans of if they want something to do with law or history, with village ordinances. Back in the day, we actually used to do. I know Officer Weber and I used to do driver's education. Now we deal with a lot more different things that are more current. I know that's kind of outsourced, but we actually teach classes to the kids, so they kind of enjoy it, seeing breaks up their day a little bit to see us in a different light too. We handle, kind of it's a given, but we handle a lot of police-related matters that involve the school community. We have an awesome relationship with superintendent and his staff that if we have a threat, that we're literally in constant communication through cell phone, even after hours. So it's, we have that good base that, we're gonna be protected if, when students hit the ground running during the day, that it's safe for school to start. We're able to provide counseling and guidance. I kind of laugh because I think we wear many hats that we're literally just like a teacher, but we have a little bit different, more powers. But all in all, so we're just we educate our kids, all through different age groups, and we have everlasting positive presence within the school, reduce crime, make the safe environment. Mr. Halverson and I have created a really good bond with each other, with kind of at the tip of the spear of changing and making progressions in the safety plans of your community. And lastly, it gives the students, teachers, and staff that access to us, that they can literally just come. We have that open door policy. If we're busy, we'll make sure that we get back to them and the families, and take a lot of calls. And we put a lot of fires out during the day that may not be represented in maybe some of our calls for service that you could see on record, but throughout the day, the administrations and us are so tight that we kind of help each other make good based decisions of the students, depending on where they're coming from. So some of the changes most recently, you see that like Officer Weber and Officer Kapinski here, that they're in uniform. I apologize, I was on the range all day, and that it wasn't going to happen with my vest. Sorry. So I cleaned up as much as I could. So, but we're now in your schools in full uniform, and it's a great thing, not only to break that barrier and that stigma of of officers, and we get down to their level. A little easier for me, but and we have dedicated marked squad cars that your parents see. It's no longer that, oh my God, there's a squad car there. What's going on at school? It's kind of become the norm that's there. So with that, our frontline cars, like our patrol officers that are out on the street, so working through different various groups of superintendents. Every single year we get better at what we do, and we've gone from like hard copies of your school plans to now digital copies, literally at the fingertips within their squad car. We have key car access to essentially all of your schools, and I know some school districts don't have that, and that's a big thing. We just had a walkthrough with the sheriff's department, and their officers don't have that in some of their schools. So it's, again, we're ahead of the curve, and we want to stay that way.
And these guys were the ones that were instrumental in getting Waukesha County to also have access to key cards for all of them. Because they're also on the response team.
Yep, yeah, they'll be the first ones probably to respond. We'll be responding to the incident, and then they're going to be our backup because they're so close. And
County sheriff.
The sheriff. Yeah.
So all the officers on the police department have access to the school?
Yeah, each mark squad and detective's car now have like a key card.
Okay.
So at any hours, they have access to get in your building.
For both our squads and Waukesha County.
Yes. So like technology and time management, that back in the day, if we had to do a report, we would have to leave your school. So now, well, if my computer did work, but we would have access to literally our computers. We don't have to leave your school. So we're able to sit there in our office, do reports and multitask throughout the day when students are in class, and if we get a lull in the day, that we're able to kind of catch up. Again, Mr. Halverson has, through an agreement with our agency, and Mr. Munoz, and now at least the SROs have, access to your cameras, both while we're in the school. Kind of looks like an operational hub, especially Officer Kapinski is in my office. We have like 3 or 4 monitors going on. We just got like large screen TVs that we're able to multicast the cameras on. It's so now we're able to multitask. Not only watch your building on the inside and outside, but we're able to do our work. And then with our smartphones too, we have integration with your camera system. So if I'm outside the building or whatever, if I'm on the playground and something happens, I could potentially literally like remotely log in and see what's going on. So, some changes in safety, security, and accountability and notification that the school district has done, that again, it's through that partnership that each of them all have, is that through that communication, we've assisted and revamped a lot of the safety plans and the protocols and response. And like the Falls High School, that entire front entrance, that was all basically through communication through us of what would be the best design. So it up here is called CPTED, it's crime prevention through environmental design. So all 3 of us have that basically certification. So we tote it out to the community, and we do security surveys and look for improvements, whether it's lighting or ground coverage or people watching people, so that you can kind of lower your cost. So we do all those things. That would, like lowering cost, that was one of the big pushes at your high school, where you have the kids love it, but they're actually doing our job for us, where they're sitting outside on their park benches eating lunch. So it's just a line of defense. When they see maybe a stranger coming up that they don't recognize, they can notify a staff member right away. So again, it helps the system work. The new Genetech system, that's the new camera system, the operating system. It's a huge improvement. It is very techy compared to the other one. So there is a large learning curve, and we have some training coming up with the school district to kind of tweak some of those things. But Officer Kapinski and I have literally been on the ground running, working with the school district and basically created all the views for at least our 2 schools. And in time, it kind of gives at least the other elementary schools an idea of like, hey, this is what like your view should look like and how that all should be set up.
It makes it so much more systematic for quick response to be able to go into those different angles and views, because they're on different pods of cameras. As we start looking at what those cameras are gonna do, should our grants go through for the alert badges, that's gonna be instrumental to be tied into Genetech with those views that they have. So it's gonna be if it goes through, it's gonna definitely save our technologies a lot of time for setting that up.
Does the police department have access to the cameras in the school as well?
Yeah,
So
on an
it'd
emergency basis,
Yeah.
there's an agreement that if
Okay.
we need it, yes, but it's just usually just us 3.
Right.
And if an officer had, something that occurred maybe at, like for Jason, if he had a CE and rec,
Yeah.
that those emails usually come to me because I'm at North. But the answer basically is it's just the 3 of us primarily, but if there was an emergency, they do have it, and the command staff here would have access to that, yes.
Good.
Again, through a lot of conversation, Officer Kapinski and I kind of switched schools a couple of years ago, and each of us are instrumental of saying, hey, there's a blind spot here, and we identify maybe a weakness that kids are kind of hovering and skipping class or whatnot, or doing things we don't want them to do. And through your budget, we're like, okay, if this would be like the first camera that we would want in this area, and then it's cut down on a lot of stuff that it's captured. A lot of things that have happened in your school, literally from sexual assaults to thefts. So it's done a huge improvement. I know it's a costly thing, but I can advocate that we're gonna do the best we can to spend your money wisely, of not just like overspend, like we need cameras everywhere, and it seems that way, but we want to make sure that you're covered for the community. Because if it's not there and somebody didn't see it, it's a lot easier to especially with like middle school kids. For me, I could have 5 kids and they're gonna tell me 5 different stories, and if I have a camera that can tell me the story, I don't have to necessarily affect maybe 5 families to ask those questions. Kind of talked about the key card access, but through working with Joel, right? So he's the head of your, which department there?
Talking John.
Not John. I gotta think of Joel Weber, I think.
Oh, for
Facilities,
yeah, for
facilities, yeah.
Joel, yeah.
So a couple of years ago, when we do your football games, and there was an incident on the other side of the fence, and we couldn't get on the other side of the fence. We had to literally walk around, or he's like, let's fix that. And literally the next day, we each had keys to your fences, so now I could literally just walk through a gate, and that we got through it and worked through it. But I mean, it's just that communication and the trust that yes, we're gonna take care of your stuff and use it to everybody's advantage. And then the big thing I'm gonna throw kudos here to Mr. Dan is that we've worked with a lot of different superintendents and their staff, and I can say through the I think 3 or 4 that I've been through is that he has been literally instrumental with hearing our voice of like, hey, this would be maybe best practice, and then working it out with his knowledge and experience, which is vast, and he's taken ownership, unlike any other essentially staff that I work with here. So if there's something that needs to be fixed, I call him kind of new to us, because what is it? Not even off. Now it's a full.
That's 9 months. Well, it's almost 10 months.
But the amount of progress that has been made with different changes in policy and procedures and stuff, it just doesn't happen. So that's a testament to have in your building, and it's a great partnership.
Thanks.
So again, not to age myself, but yeah, I've been here 29 years, 7 years as an SRO. I'm at North Middle School. I'm not going to get into, I guess, too much of what I do. I'm going to throw the floor over to Officer Kapinski, because essentially we work with others and kind of do the same job. So I'm going to give Nick the floor.
So I've been an officer for 22 years now, school resource officer for 11 years. I started, basically what Jay does is the community services officer, so I was the DARE coordinator, started in Block Watch, stuff like that, in charge of the elementary schools and dealing with issues there. I moved up to the middle school for 5 years when Officer Jim Kirchberger, known as OJ, retired, and then I made it to the big leagues 3 years ago to the high school. So I cannot, and I think I met some of you in the hallway, and I said I like every level I worked at, but I love the high school. I love that I get to interact with kids that are becoming young adults, especially ones that want to be police officers, because we need good police officers. So I just love my job. So if you kind of look at the photos, I do get in the classrooms. I did a fingerprinting session with one of their, so they actually offer a criminology class, so I'm more than happy, and I'm going to try to get into more topics in there, law and stuff like that. And I do play the tuba, don't make fun of me. I was a band kid, so every so often I'll join the pep band. So I've enabled my daughter into playing the tuba. So objectives: provide security, police services, build relationship with students and staff. That really building relationships, like Officer Holt said. I've met students on their worst day, and I was their rock. That's what I'll take away from this career, really. So, identifying issues, concerns with school and providing solutions. So we, one problem we have is not specific to Menominee Falls, but it is, vaping or anything like that, drug use. Not that there's school districts with way worse problems, but being proactive is the key. Utilizing the cameras, or utilizing remote cameras within school policy, and it's not trying to get the kids, but you have to enforce the law, you have to enforce school rules. And I think that with that in the backing administration, with kind of not a hard stance on things, but just this is how it is, there are consequences. And I think that is a big part of getting these kids to be responsible adults. Security checks, so you ask, I think last time I was talking to the school board, you guys asked, what do you do all day? Besides drink coffee, which I drink my coffee in the morning, I have to. And sometimes when I have donuts, yeah. So I will do my security checks, door security, hallways, in the lunchroom. So I'm constantly in the lunchroom, looking for wandering. Kids are kids. They're gonna wanna wander, they're gonna wanna take whatever break. Officer Holtz mentioned like the different hats we wear. I think we wear that, even though we're not an administrator, and I'll say that, we still wear that administrator hat to keep kids accountable, because that is part of security, like where are you going, what are you doing, and making sure that they're not wandering the hallways. Cameras, training and assistance, like Officer Holtz said, we're meeting the next 2 weeks now to meet with the security camera system to get a better understanding, even though we have a good foundation. And then we'll put it out to the elementary school principals to start creating those views. So that's a priority this summer. And then maintenance issues. Our tech person, Katie Welke, I think I annoy her, but anytime the camera is down, it's because the thing is, once that camera goes down, something's gonna happen there. So so I get very anxious and I want that camera, and Katie's very responsive to get it up. The investigations enforcement, so either it's a police violation, school violation, or it can be both. There are some deferred prosecution stuff within the school as far as low-level stuff. And not everything needs to be a citation. I think it should be more of teachable moment for kids. Now, if it happens again, yeah, that's a different story. But we have a very good understanding with the administration at my school. So, and if you didn't know, the principal, Dan Gebauer, he was a police officer here, actually a police aide, and he taught me how to be a police aide. And then he left shortly after that, and I got his position as a police officer. So, thank you for leaving me. Do you have any questions about the high school security or what I do during the day?
No, I'll say though that from my experience when I was teaching, the SRO program can be met with pros and cons, and what I've always been able to sense or tell is that like it's the person that makes the difference. And so I really appreciate like what you're sharing and what you're saying. It seems like you're doing a really great job, and that it isn't just about like policing kids. I really appreciate your perspective.
I think if you would ask any teacher or administrator, they would say that we all, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I'm a father, and I think that's a very important thing. Just to be able to really relate to kids, and it's definitely not a requirement to be an SRO, but just relating to kids, being able to talk to them, having a conversation, because kids sometimes don't listen because brain development or whatever, and having a decent conversation and having them to come to the conclusion, okay, maybe I was part of the problem. How can we fix that? And I guess a big testament, and I think we all have stories, is we give that kid a ticket, we arrest that kid, but then the next day we're having a normal conversation. How are you doing? How can I help you? I think that is very important. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Weber. I've been here a long time. As you can see, I'm in the middle. I'm pushing 28 years right now as a law enforcement officer. I've been in your schools for 23 of those. I started at North Middle School. Actually, I should back up. I was working undercover in drug narcotics at the time when this position became available, and I wrote for it. I got it, and I was working undercover for about 1.5 years, and usually it was a 2-year stint at that time. So to cover things, I got moved into the schools pretty quickly, but I still had work to do during the evening. So I was teaching DARE to kids, 5th graders, but at night I was going out and buying drugs, on the street. So it was a weird transition, but I'll tell you what, I learned a lot of things, and I think we brought a lot of positive things to your schools over the years. I will echo what Scott Holtz said. I do right now think our our administration in the district is probably the strongest I've seen since I've been here. So thank you for everyone putting forth the effort you have. We feel supported and that's big for us. So a little bit about myself. Obviously, I came out of the drug unit. I went to North Middle School to start. I was there for a brief stint of maybe 2 years, and I then went to the high school for a long time, a lot of years, and developed some excellent connections there. Learned a lot there too, and eventually ended up now I'm at the elementary level. One of the main things we focus on at the elementary level is 1st and 5th grade DARE. We primarily focus, or we did initially with the 5th graders, and 5th grade DARE encompasses 10 weeks. We cover a variety of topics that are pertinent to 5th graders at that time, particularly, I can tell you a brief snapshot of our program. We introduced ourselves in week 1. We talk about basically a way of working through a problem. It's called the DARE decision-making model. It's an acronym: define, assess, respond, and evaluate. You define the problem that's given to you. The A is assess. What are my options here? What's good, what's bad? And then you respond. You make a decision, and then you evaluate E after that. So we put that to work almost every week in DARE with different scenarios. Lesson 2, we jump into tobacco, alcohol. We've introduced vaping as well, the harmful health effects of those. Week 3, we talk about basically consequences and risks. We definitely encourage safe risks, and we talk about trying a new sport or trying playing the tuba, like Nick did. Trying something new, and you can maybe make a friend and that type of thing. And how we build on that, we talk about resistance strategies in week 4, how to get out of situations we don't want to be in, telling people, standing up for yourself, that you're not interested, saying no. Week 5, I think, is my favorite lesson to teach, and that's stress. Every one of us in this room and everyone in the 5th grade classroom and the teacher have had stress, and we identify their stress, and then we talk about ways of dealing with their stress. I think it's probably my favorite lesson I teach. We talk about communication strategies in week 6. Communicating confidently is our main goal, not being unsure or demanding, and we talk about them being demanding at home at times, so we can get some good laughs out of the kids. And then we go into our week 7, we talk about over-the-counter prescription medications, over-the-counter narcotics or drugs you can buy at the store, and then prescription meds. So probably one of the most popular lessons as well. We talk about the dangers of those, obviously, with the opioid crisis we do have in our country at times. It's been a little better recently, but it's still a problem. It's good to get the kids educated on that. We finish up with basically talking about harassment or bullying. We label it in our world, and then we finish up in lesson 9 with establishing a help network. We identify the people in their lives who can help them in a time of need and crisis. So it's been a very popular program for years here in Menomonee Falls. I'm happy to tell you I've been a part of it for this will be my 24th year coming up. I'm also a certified instructor. I do teach officers across the country technically to train them to teach this in their classrooms. So I'm happy to tell you last year we did host a training here in Menomonee Falls. It was 13 months ago in May. We brought in 12 officers, 11 from Wisconsin, 1 from the UP of Michigan, and those officers were all trained in your schools here. They had to do a lesson in front of a 5th grade classroom and then a 1st grade classroom. So they were so nervous, but Nick and Scott helped me coordinate that, and they all did excellent. So our plan is to host one hopefully next summer as well, right about this time. That's our hopeful goal. We are adding some new curriculum to the DARE program. Hopefully within a matter of weeks. We have a DARE conference coming up in about 4 weeks, and that new curriculum is going to primarily be focused on mental health. So, which is we see a lot of, unfortunately. So, our 1st grade program is a 3-week program. A lot of littles are really excited to see us, which is a great opportunity for us, to show ourselves and get to know an officer. We talk about 911, what an emergency is in week 1. Week 2, we jump into identifying outside dangers. We talk about risks of, playing near water, crossing the street properly, wearing a bike helmet, that type of thing. In week 3, we talk about stranger danger, strangers, how to stay away from them, how to yell if you need to, and then tell about it after. We encourage yelling outside to get the help you need, but then telling the story. So very popular program. Right now, actually, I just finished up with first grade about four weeks ago in your schools. But we've covered every first grade classroom in your school district, as well as every fifth grade classroom with that curriculum as well. We also cover all the parochial schools except one here in the Falls as well at the same grade level. So I primarily teach most of them. Scott and Nick also teach a class as those Officer Hanson. So we have 4 certified DARE officers that we obviously use them quite often. So we're in your schools with this. I'm in your schools a lot with this. Basically at Valley View, I'm there in the fall, Riverside's the spring, and then in this later spring I do all the first grades pretty much all at once. So, you know, I for a number of years we didn't have an officer assigned to the elementaries, and now that I have been, it's been so valuable. I mean, just the connection we're making with these kids, and you know, the smiles and the comfort I think they get is it shows. And they're so used, I think Scott said, I mean, the kids are so used to us in the schools, it's not a big deal. You know, we're just one of the staff members there every day as the parents are coming in, why is an officer here, you know? But and they're slowly getting used to that. But no, it was an excellent move. You know, believe it or not, unfortunately, we do have issues at that level. Those kids have some challenges at home at the younger levels too, and it's amazing the connections I've made with some pretty little. So thank you for that opportunity. I'm having a blast with it. On that note, I guess, what do I deal with the most, and what does my day look like? As it was mentioned earlier, I'm moving constantly. Unless there is a known issue in one of the elementary schools, I'm constantly moving. I'll try to stop in, usually all of them face to face, otherwise sometimes it'll be a recess contact. Most recently, last 3-4 weeks, our spring kind of wasn't the best, but once it got nice, that you know, they were outside more, so I focused more on the outside. Obviously they saw me, I'd come by with the car, they'd all wave, I'd pop out, say hi, throw the football a few times, and I'd move on. But the teachers have told me numerous times, you know, they thank me, thank you for coming by, so it's very, very much appreciated. What do I deal with inside the schools? Well, unfortunately, I get told some family issues or problems at home. Probably one of the things I deal with the most is custody exchange issues, especially Fridays, maybe Mondays on the turnaround. But other than that, you know, they're at that age, they're pretty honest. They'll tell you everything that's going on and what they've seen, and it's great. You know, it's really enjoyable. So I've had an excellent experience the last, I think this will be my 7th year now in the elementaries. I've been fortunate to work in all three levels, and I enjoy them all in their own unique way. So, any questions at all for me?
So you're at each school, all 4 schools at some point during the week?
Almost, I try to make it during the day. And it depends. I get, you know, if I get tied up with a situation at Valley View, you know, we got maybe, you know, some kids that weren't the best in the class, and I'm asked to talk to them, or, you know, it's a bullying issue, or maybe it's a home issue, you know, that may take longer. I gotta reach parents.
Sure.
You know, every day is a little different that way, but I do also cover Marcy Elementary School. They're part of the Hamilton District, but they're in our jurisdiction, so I don't cover them nearly as much as I cover Year 4, but I do make a contact usually once or twice a week with them, and it could be just a phone contact. But no, I'm pretty visible with the elementaries. Like I said, for 10 straight weeks at Riverside and Valley View for the 5th grade, and then obviously Ben Franklin is Shady with the younger ones, the 1st graders. So yeah, I mean, it could be drop off in the morning, it could be recess time, it could be you know, during the day, but I'm usually I try to show some visible presence.
Right.
Yes.
I know that we've increased, we added full-time SRO this past year, correct?
2 years ago.
2 years
2 years
ago?
ago, yep.
How have you seen that impact has things been more consistent, making more progress? I mean, obviously you're with the students more often. Have you noticed any changes in the last 2 years that you'd say a marked difference? This is going really well?
Yeah, I guess if that's directed to me, I'd say two things. First of all, I'll start with your staff. The staff I get told almost every day, thank you for being here, thank you. It's that safety, just that extra sense. I mean, someone will come up and give me a hug. I have kids giving me hugs all the time, you know? That tells me
Yeah.
volumes right there, right? And so, you know, I always try to make time, you know, tell me something about you, they'll tell me about their weekend, or they'll tell me, you know, about a new shirt they got or something, you know, and I will always stop and make time with them. And I've been, you know, last year I was asked to be the graduation speaker at Valley View Elementary, so that told me right there that connection was strong. I just, you know, I think it's the safety and the ease that just the uniform officers in the building. And for years, Scott, I was in plain clothes. All the years I was at the high school, I was plain clothes. And our thought process with that was it made the student more comfortable talking to law enforcement. There is definitely a time and place for that, for sure. However, when we want to be visible, to let the outside know, hey, we're here, we're watching and keeping this safe, that is really our main goal. So it was a good move. I'd much rather wear plain clothes and all this stuff, honestly, but especially when it's 85 degrees out. But there's a time and a place for the plain clothes, but absolutely day in and day out when we're making contact at those schools, we're showing a presence. This is the way it should be.
It's a deterrent.
100%.
See, it goes out, you know, goes guard, you're not gonna.
Right.
I don't know if Scott and Nick would answer that too, but they're anecdotally, you have two different measures. You got anecdotally and then you've got what's detail wise.
Right.
And one of the things all three of them left out is one of their major impacts this year has been on attendance.
Sure.
And that wasn't a result of just, you know, happenstance. That was because these guys were very, very open and they were honest. And when it came to us working together and working with the judge, working with the village attorney, which you guys laid of as yesterday, working on a case that Jay knows about, that there's been a very, very open collaboration with the police department, but specifically these three guys.
Yeah.
And when we look at how you improve attendance, it's not by just hammering out a citation, here's your ticket. It's about, we're giving you another chance, we're trying to extend our opportunity for you to take ownership of your own education. And, you know, like, this is your guys' feather in cap time. I've worked with the SROs my entire career in education. And I've worked with some that were very, very good. I've worked with some that are not so good. And the three that we've got right here, top notch on them all. I mean, these guys have got the mentality that's right for kids, it's right for their job, it's right for accountability, but it's right for building a relationship piece. And that's what we need with everybody, not just the kids, but staff, the families, and everything that's here. And not to leave Matt out either, but Matt, Jason, all the way up to the chief, everybody's kind of got that mentality for a jail. And I think that's been the reason why it's been so successful, and why it's been so helpful for our kids.
Yeah.
And you know, whether it's walking down the hall with Santa Claus, bodyguard, or whether it's talking fishing in the hall, or other kids driving, you know, it's dinosaur shit.
Yeah.
So there's just that piece that you can't put a number on, but the piece that you can put numbers on, we've got the numbers that say this is a direct result of our influence of our three officers. And attendance has been a huge, huge difference. We went from 89% to 95% in a year. That doesn't just happen randomly.
Right.
So, and it's because, again, it's not just about tickets, it's about having conversations, about being part of the, like, what can we do to get you here? You know? So that's been a real nice piece for me. I love working with these guys, and I get to see them all the time. They're probably tired of seeing me, but it's been a great collaboration.
Well, with over 70 plus years of experience between the three of you, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
And that picture from the 1980s you guys had on there, that's what it's changed.
I know.
Who's that young guy? Oh my gosh, this is what the job does here.
I was like, who's that?
Right, yeah, that was good, I figured, I love it, I don't get mad, I just get even, so, but, no, I'll say this, you know, we have all worked a number of years, obviously, and we've had other opportunities, all of us, to advance in the department at certain times, and I can speak for myself personally, I felt I was making a difference in the role with what I was doing. I enjoyed what I was doing, so I've been put in this position for a reason. I've worked with kids my whole life. I was a hunter education instructor before I became an SRO.
Fishing coach or something.
Yeah, I've been a fishing coach recently for,
State champ.
yeah, thank you. I coach at Slinger High School the past 4 years, and we've developed a really strong program up there, but we have some things in the works, so.
We're gonna bring it to the falls.
Yeah, so John and I are in talks, and I was fortunate to win a state championship a few weeks ago with my team. I was state runner-up on ice this year as well. We do an ice fishing season and an open water season, and last.
Any ice on open water.
Yeah. So we've had great success there, and we built that team up, and my son has now graduated, and I'm looking. I know there's a lot of kids here that would really thrive with it. So John and I are in talks, and we'll see what we can do. But it's something I'd like to maybe put together in the twilight of my career here. So it'd be a great connection, and for us as a police department in the school district. But, so yeah, thank you. Any other questions for myself?
I have one for Officer Holtz. We're coming up on a big expenditure into the doors at the middle school.
Mhm.
Can you just talk a little bit about why we need to replace those doors and how they're gonna be helpful?
Well, I guess it depends on what part we're looking at. I guess, you know, right now, speaking frankly, you have a big hole in the door on the bottom, which could be easily kicked in and, you know, any person could walk through. You know, I don't know exactly what model they're going with, but you have windows above that open up that can have that ventilation if you need the ventilation for the HVAC system, and you could have literally a solid core door there with a small window if it's necessary. Again, anytime that you start putting holes in doors, it kind of defeats the purpose of the door. I understand that aesthetically you want to make it an inviting environment. That's obviously at the tip of what you want to do as a teacher and as, you know, as a community there, but you also have to focus on the security pattern, you know, unfortunately with this day and age. So yes, you want to have a smaller window, maybe a little higher that, you know, they can't break it, reach down and open it up from the outside. So those are all things to, you know, we collaborate and have conversations like, all right, time out, like if you're gonna spend the money, we'll tell you like what we would recommend and you make the decision, and we do that with a lot of things when it comes to safety. You know, that's I guess my background, and I didn't get too much into it, but I came from the tactical world, and my entire life has been dealing with, you know, essentially school security and that type of thing, and that's how I was able to jump in here and help, you know, your community become safer with some of the stuff that we've helped redesign and a lot of input. And it's like, okay, this would work, this wouldn't work, what worked for the budget, and you know, what can we sacrifice? So those are all things. But I don't know if that answers your question, but
It does, yeah. Do we have a timeline on that? Not yet.
One thing that we just closed on today that these guys are also instrumental in is our Raptor system, both from emergency management and visitor management. And you guys know a little bit about it, but I'm not a big fan. We ended up by closing the deal with Navigate. So we're gonna be actually meeting with them next week for emergency management. Visitor management's gonna maintain with Raptor, but that's another piece that we'll be working on throughout the summer because they're again instrumental in it. Good news is Navigate is
No more Raptor.
for emergency management. Visitor management.
Wait,
Visitor management.
Visitor
okay, it's for
management.
visitor.
So there's two different platforms, and this is.
Well, you brought it up, so
I know,
tell us
I wanted to,
more.
because it was literally just today that we finalized it, so. And it was actually a substantial savings for cost as well. So Raptor has two different platforms that are going to utilize, visitor management and emergency management. The emergency management platform is our device that you guys have seen. We talked about our flip charts and our digital flip charts, and we've had so many issues with. So Navigate themselves has different pieces of their product that actually will help us design our safety plan within the Wisconsin Department of Justice standards. They have instant notification, just like we get with Raptor right now, but they're able to do things within the app itself that we can't do with Raptor, including implement our digital flip charts and some of the other things that we have in there. and the accountability process that we fought and banged our head against the wall all year long with. When we have an emergency or drill that we have an evacuation, our teachers are to go on Raptor and make themselves accountable for reunification. We need to know, and that's what we want them to practice, is we wanna get to as close to 100% as possible. Within Raptor, there's glitches that cause problems doing that. So when we were talking with, Katie and I were meeting with the Navigate people, they're going through, I was like, no, this is easy, we don't need a class grade. Did you upload your information from your student information system, PowerSchool? We don't even need to have anything other than teacher's name, and we basically populate the class and they can do the accountability just like this, one slide. So making it easier for the staff is gonna make the process more repeatable, so that should we ever have, God forbid, a reunification system or situation, it's gonna be intuitive instead of trying to find kids where they're at, whose parents were here for pickup. And we're really just trying to get the practice to be like the reality. So that Navigate is gonna be anticipated a very, very easy transition, but it is gonna be a big transition for the positive, so. And with Raptor, you guys have heard me complain about it from day one, when we try to fight for a vendor. We shouldn't be fighting with vendors should be fighting for us, and that's the thing that's been kind of detrimental, to what we've been trying to accomplish. But I wanted to share with you guys, because it seems to be much.
I just got a couple comments. Throughout the year, I show up at different schools. You guys see me at the high school and at the elementary schools. But I see you guys' interaction with the kids. You guys are great. I think that's great. One, it's peaceful to have you guys there. But two, that you guys are being useful. It's nice. It's a great relationship. Reality is too, on this another comment of mine. We've had scares in the last 2 years. We've had an incident in Germantown. We had a scare in Slinger. And I'm talking close neighbors.
Right.
And it's like crime happens everywhere, but it's nice for me as a parent to know I have officers who are like bodyguards to our staff, our students, our kids, and you guys always have my support. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Alright, well, thank you all for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you again.
Sorry for distressing you.
So you're gonna shave and get back to this?
Yeah, I should. I know, it's not, actually, I have melanoma, so I'm trying to protect my face from the sun as much as I can, so. Yeah, that's early in the morning, early evening is when I go.
Computer.
Thank you all for.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Maybe a budget allocation for a new computer to replace his other new computer.
We'll be in touch. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
We'll give them a minute to clear out, and then we'll hear from our athletics and activities director, Mr. John DeMott, on his end of year wrap up.
There's a couple waters around the back.
X is ready in the fridge or not? No, is there, you guys want?
No, you guys, I'll go down and grab one, so we're good, but I should have brought one up.
Is there one? I can check in the fridge.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Oh, okay.
I can let you here.
Yeah, you bet, thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Take care.
Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
I'm buying up Travis.
Why?
It's not
The
the,
non-share
it's
size.
not the large one.
Yeah, let's go straight.
Sure.
No water.
We'll be all right. Yeah, and Dan, I wanna thank you too. I know a lot has gone into our school safety plan. I mean, it's phenomenal. So thank you. Thank you. And it's good to hear that, how they feel about our administration now. I heard the one comment, is the best they've seen, so it's good.
But like I told you guys at the last board meeting, it's easy to do when you have people that wanna work together, and we're very, very fortunate with what we've got.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people that have passion for helping kids, and it's great.
Yeah.
Not to mention the next person speaking.
Alright,
No. No pressure.
Yeah.
So, you guys, thanks for having me. As far as the scope of my job, and this will kind of give you, an idea on what the year looked like. It's weird to was talking about it, like, we kinda came in together.
Yeah.
And I think we did come
We did come
together,
in.
yeah, literally, so, it's been a great year and, you know, there's been some challenges, obviously, like any other job, but there's been so many rewards along the way. So hopefully, you know, like during my presentation here, you guys kind of get a glimpse of that and what that looks like. Alright, so the first thing I'm gonna start off with is we developed the Phoenix Way leadership team, and that comprised of 44 athletes. And with that, there was all sports represented. It was a great opportunity for me. I'm a teacher my whole life, you know, I had 23 years in the classroom. So, and football coach head coach for 17 years, always been super active. So when you step into a director's position, you know, it was an opportunity for me to give back to the student athlete. And when it's all said and done, it's about building great leaders so then they can build leaders amongst them, you know. So the tools that they learn, the relationships that I build with them, the connections that we make, they're able to then take those back to their teams, and then that will only, you know, breed success. The coaches like it too. I got a lot of great feedback from my coaches, just about, you know, the suggestions that you know, their athletes are making. They're much more assertive. They're willing to try new things. Coaches, they have a ton on their plate. I was always a big character, you know, leadership guy. I would take time you know, before all my practices, and we would meet as a team for 10-15 minutes, and then we would do an X's and O's, and then we would hit the field. But not every coach is like that. And it's one of those things that is so critical and so pivotal for the success of our student athletes, not only currently, but beyond, you know, their time here at the high school. So it's been really, really good. You know, the sweet spot for me is usually 50. We had 44, a couple did kind of come and go a little bit. It's tough getting 44 schedules together. Kids have doctor's appointments, they work, you know, they have to watch their brother or sister and babysit, you know. So it wasn't always consistent at 44, but we had a good healthy number. But I would like to get that number up to 50. I feel pretty good about that. So about a 10% increase for next season.
I remember
Next year.
when it was a handful of kids and you're like, just wait for it,
Yeah,
you know, it's
yeah,
coming, and here we are, so.
Right.
So
Yeah, I
how
think
often do you meet with them?
Once a week,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So on Wednesdays, and here's the thing, I've done this for a long time. The sweet spot is 45 minutes. Their
Yeah.
time is valuable, so you know, we have pace time. So they have early release, so I meet from 2 to 2:45. That's what I do. And we just hammer it out, get them talking, you know, we always have an agenda.
Guest speaker.
Guest speakers, stuff like that.
So when you say like all sports represented, so it could be in the off season of a sport and
Totally.
they're still
Yeah.
meeting with you.
Yeah, totally. So boys volleyball, soccer, cheer, dance, wrestling, you know, it was good.
Is there ever like disputes versus sports? Volleyball's better, no, soccer's better.
Well, I can tell you this, like some of the coaches come to me and they're just like, you know,
Yeah.
I'd like to have them, you know, like Tim Gotzler. They gotta take batting practice, coach. You know, they got the playoffs coming. I was just like, that's fine. I totally get it. So there's things like that, you know, which I totally get. But it's always been good, you know.
Yeah, cool.
The communication's there, and that's one of our huge pieces is communication. It's everything that we do, basically. The next piece is just their mission statement. They put this together. So I worked with them. We took an entire class period to put it together. I told them I will make it sound pretty good, but you guys do the majority of the work. So I was pretty proud of that. So you know, with our new website going up, this is going to be something that we're gonna, you know, really transition to, because I feel it empowers the student athlete. They developed it. They get to see it when they pop on the new webpage, and there it is. And I think that's incredibly important.
How did the leaders get picked?
It's funny you say that. This year, I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
So I sent out a survey to my coaches, and I said, who do you think would be, you know, a good recommendation? And there's no, like, you know, discretion in regards to, junior, senior, or
Mhm.
upper athlete, it could be a freshman. And I'll be honest with you, some of my best were my freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah,
They were awesome, and I love them because I feel like
Yeah.
you can kind of mold them a little bit more. Not that I didn't, with our junior, seniors, they were phenomenal. But I guess the point being is, those individuals that were in it last year will carry over. And then, through my networking and, seeing the teams play and talking to them in the hallways and stuff like that, there's a couple that I'm gonna send out invitations to.
Okay.
So. We started speed, agility, and strength, something that was just kind of like, hanging out there, with just a certain couple programs, to be honest with you, just a handful, I would say. So that's something that we implemented that I'm super proud about. So that's an all sport strength and conditioning opportunity. We have over, 100 males and females throughout the school year that were involved in it. And that's student athletes that were in the off season. We also implemented, strength training in season for all our sports teams. I would say probably 75% of them took advantage of it. That was part of their end of the season evaluation. That was one of the questions that I would ask the student athletes, and a lot of the student athletes were incredibly upset that they weren't consistent with their strength and conditioning training in season. So that is something that every single one of our teams will be implemented next year. The thing that I always say, you spend time in the off-season training and all that stuff, and then you get in season, it's just like you wanna keep all those, those gains that you made. And you increase your strength, your mobility, your flexibility, your confidence, and and you decrease injuries. So that component is going to be critical moving forward with all of our sports teams. This summer, we have our highest numbers right now. We have 117 signed up for summer SAS. We actually had an extra instructor because of safety purposes. So we're super excited about that. So that got up and running starting on Monday. So and that's just high school. So I'm super excited about that. Again, I think a 10% increase is realistic. I know over at Hamilton, we started this a long time ago, but we had 300 kids in the summer. So just to kind of give you an idea of what that kind of looks like. And then we had over 200 during the school year. So I know they're larger than us, but I really feel like the increments of going at 10% each year or more is realistic, and I think we'll get there. Super proud of this, our participation. We have 1,288 kids in our school and 922 of them are student athletes, which is phenomenal. Now you have to understand a part of that number is a little skewed because, there's dual sport athletes and, 3-sport athletes, stuff like that. But I still consider them athletes, and that's a huge number. So the norm typically amongst all my constituents is usually around 60 to 65%, and we're sitting at 72%. So I think that's phenomenal. I really don't want to mess around with that number too much. I want to stay about 70%, I think that's going to be really, really good. So super excited about that. I know my coaches have done an awesome job. I'll tell you a story right now. Our numbers are a little down with our freshmen to be football players. So our head baseball coach and my head football coach are going to be going down to the youth level and talking to the baseball players because they want to focus on baseball. They're really good football players too. So the head baseball coach is going down just to have talks with the parents and with the student athletes about dual sport athletes and how important it is and how football will make them a better baseball player, baseball will make them a better football player. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So there's that collaboration, whereas I don't think we had that before. I think a lot of the coaches were pitting their athletes, against each other and against their sport. I think they really see big picture. So if I had it my way, every student athlete would be a dual sport athlete minimum. It's just incredibly important to keep them involved, and it helps them in their respected sports. that they're focusing on.
When you say go down to youth, how old?
Just the middle school
Okay.
at the, Junior Phoenix.
Yeah, oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So specifically that 8th grade group, we got some good ones there. And there's like 4 of them we really gotta lock in on. I know who they are. So, but it's, you know what, it's refreshing seeing the head baseball coach, right? And he's giving the endorsement. So any kind of nudge, I think is important,
Interesting. Mhm.
And I think from a parent's perspective too, they need to hear that as well. Not always focusing on one thing is better. I
Well,
really
it is
feel being
interesting,
holistic.
right,
No.
having younger kids myself, how they do try to pigeonhole you into one
There's not a sport
sport.
out there.
It's wild to
Yeah,
me, I'm
isn't
like, we don't need to be playing the same sport 3 days a week,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're
right.
8, like,
Right.
try them all.
Yeah.
See which one you like
So
the
it's
most.
interesting how that
Yeah.
culture is in there very young,
Yeah.
of like,
Yeah.
try out one sport and stick
And
with
then
it.
you know what, you just, at such a young age, you have that repetition too, and like, you have volleyball players that have shoulder issues.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean, because they're just constantly swinging,
Right.
swinging, and
Yeah.
baseball, the same thing, they have our problems early on, is because they don't give them a pass.
Yeah.
So we're part of that.
Interesting.
The next one is our athletics accomplishments. We had 59 all-conference players. This next one I'm really super excited about, 177 scholar athletes. Understand that that's just juniors and seniors in the Greater Metro Conference. So that's close to 50% of our student athletes are 3.5 or above cumulative, which is outstanding. We had 11 individual conference champions, we had 2 team conference champions, 22 individual state qualifiers. Of those 22, 8 of those individuals were place winners. And then we had 3 team state qualifiers and then 1 state team champion in our cheer team, so.
And I asked you about earlier about the mean GPA.
Yeah,
Is that something we can get, just to kind of see? I
yeah,
think that's impressive. It may take some work, but.
It'll take a little bit of work, but it could be okay, you know what I mean? I know the right people to ask.
Sure.
I figured that out in a year. I know some people that are really good at power school.
One's on vacation the next week,
But yeah, that's really interesting, and I would like to put that together, you know what I
What is
mean,
the-
because that
what
is a
is-
cool stat.
What is the minimum GPA that athletes need to have?
Well, where we're at right now.
We've had
I'll
this
be honest with
conversation
you.
since the beginning of years, we really are gonna be moving that.
Well, you had said it, I'm a
Yeah,
parent of
it's a 179,
Yeah.
and it's an F, and
Oh,
you can have 1 F, but if you have a GPA over that, it's very low.
okay.
And I think we need to do something with
We'll be working on the
Conduct
rigor
and
of
what
that
that looks like.
expectation.
Next year.
And that's part of one of the things he's working on next year.
Yeah, and that's where I'm kind of going with it, I wanna make sure we don't, it's student athlete, not athletic student, right? I wanna make sure we keep students.
Yeah, I'm gonna address
athletics
that.
or academics
Yeah,
first and
I'll
foremost.
address that.
Student athletes.
As much as I would love every kid to join the MLB or
Yeah.
MBA or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
I want them to be successful after high school and with a good solid education.
I agree.
That's one of the components. You're gonna see it a little bit later in the presentation.
Yeah.
John's got set for a goal for
Yeah.
next year.
Yep.
And that has been part of the conversation.
That's right.
And that's awesome, and thank you for supporting, that's awesome.
Yeah.
A little more rigor to the expectations, cause again, they're
Yeah.
student athletes, not athletes.
Right.
And I will say, 177, 48% are scholar athletes. That's
Scholar
It's
athletes.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
That is
that's
Yeah.
huge.
So that's super exciting.
So clearly, I mean, yeah, we're
Yeah.
heading in the right direction.
Every student is more than capable.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
student.
Lot of talent.
We saw a lot of significant upgrades in 24-25. So we got softball dual batting cages, which we're super excited about. The girls were great. They wrote me a really nice card, and they all signed like their team photo in front of the cages, and they gave it to me, and it was kind of cool.
That's awesome.
So that, it was, going into that, I knew the importance of it and just working with vendors and trying to see it through, and making it work, but there was a lot of people that had their hand in it, but it was really, a nice touch. Softball fencing around as well, we did some signage, and then, Picked up a new score controller. That thing was 14 years old, and of course we're in our regional and it takes a you know what. So I send my wife up to Partyville the next day. I'm just like, tell me you have business up in Partyville. She's like, where's Partyville? I go by Wisconsin Dells. She's like, oh yeah, I can stop in Madison and do that. I go, good. She goes, when do you need it? I go, 3:00. So she went up there and got it and brought it back. We had it for the game and it was perfect. So anyways, we got pool starting blocks as well. So I came right in when those starting blocks, we got those in. That was awesome. Just got lane lines. Those are coming in the summer. And then we got a new timing system as well. The pool got reconditioned and painted. Not only, yeah, it looks awesome. So the whole inside, the whole outside.
In the pool? Yeah, when I had it all drained out.
At the, at high school, right?
Yeah.
As David would say, a lipstick on a pig. It's a nice lipstick, I would say that. But anyways, soccer concession stand, they are so excited about that. What we were dealing with in years past, but it's beautiful. So it's all new cabinets, counters, paint. We got a new wireless microphone upgrade. Travis, your son, is just fit to be tied with just happiness. So
My
it
brother,
was,
not my son.
Oh,
brother,
I'm
yeah,
very happy about it.
very happy. So Luke's our announcer, and it's phenomenal. So it's wireless. It's I'm super happy about that. And then weight room equipment. So we did I did an assessment of that. That's kind of like my thing. So we did a bunch of safety upgrades to that. So we're totally up to speed.
Did the basketball court just get
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay.
We gotta figure out, like our mat tape. Because what happens is when we anchor the mat tape down, whether it's gymnastics or wrestling, it pulls it up. Yeah, so I'm working with our team, to kind of get some ideas out there. I got a couple ideas I think are gonna work.
Did we go for an internal man? I did it, Laura.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
that's a new hire for building your grounds too, that.
He's incredible. He's incredible.
So it saves us from having to outsource to a different contractor or contracting service to do it for us over.
He redid all my keys for me. We rekeyed everything and I have everything organized. Before it was like this key for that, you know, all at the same place. Now we just have one for this station in field, one for this station. It's awesome. He was great. And then he's the one that took care of all of the inside of the soccer concession stand as well. So that was a really good hire. Really good hire.
Real quick to look at the weight room equipment and safety upgrades.
Yeah.
Are there any further concerns there? I know that there was space issues that have been mentioned in the past. Any
That's future stuff. Like it's,
ideas? Okay.
yeah, expansion. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we have a lot of racks, but it is tight.
Especially when you get
You know,
117.
You get 100 kids in there, and you can train 100 kids functionally in there, but you better know what you're doing, and you better have 5 eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or 5 bodies, 10 eyes. You know, minimum. Because that's a lot of moving weight. That's a lot of big lifts. Yeah.
Right, okay.
And that was a concern this summer, right? So it's nice to have numbers.
Yeah.
But it's just like you need the space.
Right.
You gotta be able to do it safely and functionally, you know, so, and there can't be standing around.
Right.
So you have to have your ducks in a row. So I'm fortunate enough to be working with some really good coaches that are really good teachers and really good trainers. So we're up and running. Would I love to see an expansion? Nothing would please me more. That's on the horizon, hopefully.
Okay.
Upgrades that I'm looking for next year, a couple big ones. Just, you know, we gotta paint the Burgundy Gym just from the doors down and the doors. It's pretty shoddy right now. If you go in there, if you look at, you know, the walls are cracked and just putty that in, get it nice and fresh so it beams, so it matches the floor, right? We got a beautiful floor, let's have some nice walls as well. Some other big ticket items.
But you can get around that just by putting up state champion banners.
We can do that. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Don't have to tell, just hang it.
Right. Just cover it up. There's the old college strut. Yeah, that's what we used to do. That is awesome. So track and field, high jump pit, it's 14 years old. And the thing with pits, they have a pad on top and they need a cover. So that needs all three. So I'm really looking into that. Trying to keep our price point down a little bit. You can get some used ones. I talked to Richie. They're like the big vendor. So they handle all the meets up at state and everything. And they usually bring in mats and then they will sell them at a discount and they'll use them at state. So I'm already on them about the pole vault pit for next year. So that one might be coming back to the falls hopefully. I had a parent that wants to buy the cover, so which is awesome.
Yeah.
So they have a student athlete that's a sophomore. She went out for the first time in her life and she went to state. And she loves it. She's going to pole benders 3 days a week. And she's a gymnast, you know. But their father, we had talks and he would, like, for instance, our cover right now is my cover. I brought it from my house and it's a tarp. So our cover completely ripped and it's awful, so he's just like, John, I'll buy a new one. I mean, I was like, thank you, this is awesome. So I'm working with Caitlin on how that's gonna work. And then we don't need, he'll take care of the cover. We bought a new mat 2 years ago, so the mat's totally fine. We will just need the pit. So that will really cut down costs quite a bit. And then track and field, the hurdles, I think we can get another year out of it. Even though my hurdles coach, we have some really good hurdlers, you know. He's like, John, we need new hurdles. And I go, I know we do, but they're quite expensive. They're 13 years old. So I'm gonna see kind of where things are. I'll talk more about our sponsorship and maybe some of that money can be allocated as well.
Sure.
Our activities and athletic support, our relationship capacities are two things. One is gonna be our athletics and activities booster club, which are incredible. I'm here to tell you guys, I've been in some different school systems, but building those relationships with them has been incredible. And then also working with our Phoenix feeder programs, whether it's softball, whether it's baseball, whether it's junior Phoenix football, they've been totally instrumental on their support. So the Booster Club, just this year, has given back $75,000 to sports clubs and activities. They just doled out $7,500 to FBLA. So FBLA, you know, without that $7,500, that would be very, very difficult for them to go to nationals.
Right.
So they hit big ticket items like that. HOSA, they gave $2,500 to HOSA. Gaming, $500 to gaming. So it's not just athletics. A large part is athletics, but there are also activities. And they're outstanding. And then our feeder programs, $45,000 back to the high school sports teams as well. So those cages never would have got done over at Trinary. Those cages never would have got done over at softball. So without their help. So we're looking at $120,000. That's a lot. One of the initiatives that I'm gonna pull the trigger on is the all-exclusive for school through Under Armour and BSN. The reason for that is, you know, we're looking at anywhere from 15 to 20% rebate, which we get about a $20,000 kickback in straight cash back to us that we can use for our programs. So the point there is we're spending money, but we're getting money back, and then I can take that money and then put it back into our programs. Does that make sense? Because I'm only giving my teams like $1,000. That's all I can afford because of my budget.
Sure.
If you look at my budget, transportation has gone up 13% this year. Officials have gone up $3,500. You know what I mean? Those types of things. So everything's kind of going up, and my budget's kind of staying the same. It's gone up a little bit. We got really creative with Caitlin Wendler. With going Fun 80 with our middle school. That's a done deal, right? Okay, perfect. I was just hoping that.
Not yet.
It's almost. Yeah.
I know a guy.
Okay, moving on. But anyways, they're looking at a $20,000 school startup package, which encompasses apparel, equipment, and then I love this piece, like they have 30 like guest speakers that you can bring in, like CEO type, you know, Fortune 500 type, sports minded type people too, that I can bring in, and I would love to do that. I just don't have that, you know, in my capacity right now, in my budget, and to bring somebody in to be a part of this would be incredible, and I think it would be awesome for our student athletes. And then we also get a startup $20,000 school branding package, so like wrapping doors, you know, things like that. Anything you can think of, any kind of piece of equipment, we can do that, and then $8,000 upfront apparel for my coaches. Thing is, we all have to wear UA. Everyone, all teams, everything.
Coaches and board members, right?
You got it coming. So it's kind of a neat deal. I'll be honest with you, like the majority of our sports, probably 75% of them already wear the logo.
Sure.
UA, so there's just a couple out there that we'll have to, and it's the next schedule too. Like they can wear what they wear right now. But if we're gonna order new like soccer uniforms in 3 years, they have to be Under Armour.
Sure.
And a lot of these
And the
one-offs are
quality
doing
is
that.
known for Under Armour too.
Oh, they're awesome.
They
Yeah.
know what they're doing,
So
and they've been doing
lean.
it for a long time.
The one-offs that are out there right now
Yeah.
are gonna be able to do what they're doing currently, but they're gonna have more of a discount than what we'll be able to purchase through them, so.
With that, is BSN gonna handle like the spiritware orders and all that stuff too?
Everything,
Perfect.
you know, all the lockers, the spiritware, all that stuff.
And we start looking at our alternative funding streams in general, you know, when you talk about a 13% increase on our transportation budget, those are 6-figure budgets.
Right now.
So when we're talking about how much we're gonna be able to save just on one move like this alone, we're having to account for that kind of dig that increases year after
You gotta get creative.
So
In this
just
job, you
to,
gotta get creative.
just to clarify, cause it, you know, obviously the 20K kickback annually. So then the startup package obviously is just in the beginning, and I'm assuming the same with the branding.
Yep.
What about the coaches apparel? Is it just the initial?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And then going forward, they would be.
Yep.
You know,
This is like our startup, like, there's been a lot of vendors that have come in, they can't even come close to this.
okay.
It's like blows me away.
Yeah.
You know, and
On top of each team fundraising for their.
oh yeah,
things.
they're amazing, our teams are amazing
Yeah.
on what they do, you know. But
Okay.
it comes down to even, you know, the rebate piece. And the rebate is off of UA and BSN stuff,
Right.
so that's good. Like we buy $50,000 worth of jerseys and stuff like that with UA. I mean,
Right.
they're kicking back a lot of money,
Yeah.
you know, so it's good.
Okay.
Another initiative is the new website, which Dan has just been phenomenal with. So the biggest thing, the 3 pieces for me was easy to navigate, it was labeled appropriately moving forward, it was functional, and it's gotta be purposeful. Like, why have a website if it's not purposeful?
Right.
And then informative. And with that, we decided on athletics about consistency. So a part of that is what you see up here, I send that to each one of my coaches, okay? And then from there, they fill it out, and then I'm taking that and then I'm gonna put it into the format where you see CAM example. That one here. And so if you're football, if you're volleyball, if you're baseball, they're gonna look like this. It'll say Menominee Falls High School boys soccer. And then it's gonna, they all look the same, but they're gonna have different information.
That's awesome.
You know, so we wanna look uniform, we wanna look clean, we want it to be functional,
Right.
you know, informative, and all the information's there. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
And
Next
all the
program.
schedules are
Yes,
up
correct,
to date and a
Everything.
parent can go on there and
correct.
find the information.
So
So where
I-
will it be on the website?
Yeah, so right now we have it in the background, it's hidden, so when we're gonna be rolling out our full webpage, like transition, the athletics and activities is already built, and we're just gonna transfer it over. So right now, everything's laid out very similar.
What was it before?
Well,
This is a hot.
Don't show it.
Well, and I wanna show
We
it just
tried.
because, there are still some improvements we've made to
Oh, yeah,
just basic stuff right now, just as we're starting to move. We're getting rid of a lot of the garbage in the background. to clean everything up for the move into this new platform. But to give you an idea of where, and I don't even know if you've seen this yet, John, that we moved. Part of this is just my formatting on my screen so I can see it. We transitioned, arts, athletics, and activities are all combined. Prior to this, you'd go to our athletic site,
Yeah.
go to an external site, which would go
Which
to
was
this
like
thing that was.
fallsphoenix.org or something like that.
Yeah, and it's,
Gotta go deep.
yeah, it's,
And I remember when you first joined us, that was one of the things that I think, Board Member Holtzman and I
Yeah.
expressed at the time was the
Yeah.
website. Because we would literally get calls, hey, we don't know when this is, why is it on the
Sure.
website? We can't make the meeting because we have to work and
Right,
like,
a lot of sleepless nights for me.
yeah. So thank you. Thank you.
It was, I was like, man, I
one of the things, as you go into this, and
one of my
I'm even trying
talents
to
is
find
not
it.
web.
So
I was
like,
gonna
as
say,
you go like this
accessibility.
I
works,
gotta,
is, there's nothing in here.
And then consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, you try to find them and, like, I just hit basketball and,
So you can imagine a parent who has multiple kids, multiple sports trying to navigate this.
Right.
and again,
The
it's,
frustrations, yeah.
it's pretty much dead link after dead link.
Yeah.
And again, it was
you got it up and going,
prior to where we
Yeah.
were, we
Yeah.
did what we could to get clean.
yeah,
But a lot of that was through this company right here. That
They're a
had kind of
nightmare. They're
a
gone.
breaking of relationship with another company that they
Yeah.
were working with that was helping with their webpage design, they
Yeah.
started fighting and then everything fell
Sure.
apart.
yeah,
So right now, what we've got going is,
they merged, they got eaten up.
it's gonna look, Cal Marina is a different, this is Apogee. Ours is Final Site, but some of the things that you're gonna see on our webpage are gonna be looking like this. And you've seen me transition some videos in our backgrounds right now, as more of a test formatting. But we're working to try to get it more active, but at the same time, more clean.
Right.
Because as you look at some of these different components, ours is from 2017, and that for the day,
Yeah.
it was still pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
But right now, when you try to look at the things we've been adding for some of these pictures, see if I can find my little guy here, there you go.
Nice.
Adding those little videos to it, when our new platform comes out, it's gonna be that as.
That's cool.
So it's just been, it's again, part of what we're doing, we're improving, we're going in the direction we need to clean it up, and the webpage for the athletic department activities is part of that process.
So can you go back to that CAM example?
Yeah.
So is that gonna be like a PDF that families can download and print off, put on their
Yeah.
refrigerator?
yeah,
Oh, that's sweet, yeah.
that's how we're doing it, yes,
Do you have the,
This
do
is
you have the
crazy.
link where you can add it to your
It's
calendar?
nice and convenient.
that's a good point.
I mean, because I have spent hours
Yeah,
inputting athletics
imagine.
into my calendar,
Yeah.
and you to have the button for
This is another one of those things that's tied
or
in.
two.
So we're going to be adding the app, that's part of the negotiations we had with Final Site
Yeah.
over the last couple months. And in the app, they will have some of those links that you can set that up on your calendar through too.
Yes.
Which will be, it's another one of those huge things that,
It is that little button,
Little thing.
so much time.
Yeah.
and the live feeds that we'll be able to get out of it too, I'm looking to see what.
Right.
And then each coach will have access to upload photos and.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Roster,
Well, they'll have to have,
rosters,
because they'll have
changes
their
in
schedule,
schedule.
yeah, they'll have to update their, their actions.
I know Elmbrook was not on that, so.
We get it, we can.
Yeah, no,
You guys gotta get a
yeah.
picture of it, alright, I'm kind of excited about it because there's been a lot of
I don't wanna keep John
negotiation back and forth.
No. I think I'm on, still with the initiatives, and one of them, a big one was sponsorships. And I have to tell you, the team that I've been working with Caitlin Wendler, and then Megan Brandt, and then Chris and Jason over at Chris B&G, and then obviously Jason over at C and Rec. It's been a real pleasure. So we really rolled up our sleeves and put together this facility sponsorship program. If you just wanna click on like the one pager, that kinda gives you an idea.
I have, if you want to give me access, otherwise I can actually go into the page itself.
Okay. Well, it's pretty cool. It's just like, I'll just
There
do
you go.
this.
Yeah,
It's like a one pager here, and it just kind of lays everything out. And that's the thing that's kind of glossy and kind of grabs your eye,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what's gonna, and there is signage for like an 8x4 naming rights, scoreboard
Business
signage,
cards.
turf
You guys-
stitching, all that stuff.
So having business cards where you guys will be able to have just QR codes, people that are interested in
Totally.
talking to people, or out talking to people.
Yeah.
Hey, you never thought about sponsoring this? Here,
Yeah.
just get the QR code, these are some of the opportunities we got for.
So we put together a Google form, we have, then obviously, Megan was phenomenal. Her and I worked together about the contract, what that should look like. And a lot goes into it, I mean, you don't think, but it's, you know, the turnaround on it, like, what's it gonna look like? Where's it gonna be, how big is it? How long are you gonna have it up for, you know, all those things, but we're incredibly detailed with this. We obviously, you know, researched this and we looked at other districts and what they're doing. So we're super excited about launching this. I think it has a ton of potential. And the purpose, you know, looking at it is the number one way to improve our athletic teams is developing our athletes. So functional and efficient spaces that promote skill development, no more, no less. I'm a firm believer in that. So the big items for me is turfing our softball field with lighting. That will be so incredible to have on campus, to bring our actual JV team and not send them over to Willowwood Park. You know, a community like this, a school this size, the fact that we're sending our JV softball team, you know, across town to practice and to play games, I don't wanna say it's embarrassment, but it shouldn't be happening, you know? I think our girls deserve better. That will cut our costs tremendously with travel. You know, that's all that busing and it's an inconvenience for the girls and for the families and things like that, so that's really something I'm pushing for. Turfing the infield and foul lines at Chineri Field as well. Just having that ability to play on the turf, it's so much safer. We're not canceling games. The kids can be out there damn near year round, you know? You get those occasional nice days, you know, in February and March, that you can get outside. The turf is just so much better in that regard. Also looking at the fencing, a generator and storage shed at Chineri Field. Again, it's all about being efficient. You know, right now we're taking our L screens from the inside, bringing them over. Okay, using our L screens and all that stuff, not storing them there, putting them in the back of a pickup truck and then taking them back to the high school so then we can have indoor practice if it rains. So we're constantly doing that. If we can get a shed there with a generator, we can set up our pitching machines, keep everything right there, you know. This is all like extra money coming in from sponsorships that we can really promote our athletes, our teams, be efficient, get the most bang for the buck. That's what we're looking to do, and not killing time going back and forth with L screens, you know what I mean? And then a new batting cage at Ben Franklin. That is dilapidated, it is not safe, I can tell you that right now, everything is just curved up. So our ability to do that, so when we're bringing in our sponsorship money, where's it going? We would really like to hone in on these types of projects.
Are you announcing that to the potential donors? Like, this is what we would like to do?
Oh, yeah.
You know, like,
All part of
they
that,
can envision.
it's all written up there,
Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
absolutely. And, you know, a school, corporate sponsorship for like the softball field, that's $250K right there, but their name is on it, it's stitched in, it's above the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Looks super sweet, you know, so. My wife's in sales, so I'm just like, honey, you got to teach me how to throw.
And this is something we did discuss on Monday in our finance committee. And
This would be great.
yeah, it's, you know, I'm gonna definitely ask for the board support on this. It's gonna go before the full board for approval,
Sure.
you know, but, you know, I think
We
this
put
is
a ton of
awesome.
time into it,
Yeah,
a ton.
The sponsorship.
the sponsorship,
Sponsorship.
the program, yeah,
Yeah.
Is the sponsorship is just for athletics, right?
and activities, so band, theater, you know,
Yeah, the
auditorium,
auditorium.
Auditorium,
Yeah, it's
because that needs.
You got naming rights there too,
Heck yeah.
so, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, and it's been done at multiple other schools. I was
Yes.
Well, it's
Oh, you're in South
none. I was at New Berlin West
It's a no-brainer.
Oh, they're huge,
a couple months ago.
they're basically the starters.
They have,
West Lake.
they have, New Berlin West, they have a Drexel furniture field
Yes.
house.
Yes,
And it's magnificent.
Yeah.
Like,
It is.
I love it.
Fort Atkinson, it was
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Jones Dairy Farm.
Kind of raised doing it right now,
and
we
the
have Culver
businesses,
Stadium.
I mean, the businesses
It's
we
awesome.
have in this community,
Yeah.
Milwaukee Tool, Harley
Harley
Davidson,
Davidson,
Wacky
yes.
like
Untapped.
untapped.
Yeah.
Now,
And not only
And they'll be
that,
excited
these
to get
businesses
back.
care about our
Yeah, they
schools.
do.
I mean, we see that in our youth apprenticeship program,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They are committed to our schools,
Yes.
and, you know, I think this is gonna be phenomenal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll get something back, I mean, anyone who's in business knows marketing in sports is
Totally.
is a win-win for their
Yeah.
business, right?
Yeah.
And that's why David Gruber
Sounds like
is-
he should be selling
Big
it.
closet.
Yeah, welcome in.
Show us the good.
Here the beer.
Yeah, and you go to Bucks games, Brewers games, you got David Gruber, you know, he
Yeah.
advertises
Yeah.
in sports
Yeah.
arenas,
Yeah.
because
Yes, he
people
does.
tie
Yes, he does.
or
sports
get to
to
Dan Halverson
events.
softball field.
The bounce cup and the way for the money.
Yeah, I'm excited about it,
Yeah.
I really am,
It's
as you
been
can
a
tell.
long journey.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, and I'm just gonna drop this, which we can keep moving on too, but John started this process, we had just had conversations about sponsorship, and mentioned about New Berlin because that was one of the ones I was familiar with. But John started that project before that even, he started going and talking to Woodman's, we were talking about a UTV
Mhm.
for our trainer, because, you know, when we have multiple events in the building and outside the building, our trainers happen to be a lot of places at once for injuries and treating kids.
Yeah.
So John had just started that conversation, and boom, next thing you know, we got $5,000 sponsorship from Woodman.
Nice.
And it really didn't take a whole lot for us
No.
on our end to do anything other than here's your logo
I
on
got
our webpage.
Education, we have a TV, and then they sell ads there, and we're getting $3,000 from that. There's just like 6 different companies that, I mean, just local,
And people
have
see that.
supplies on there and stuff like that,
The
but
hardware store down the
Yeah,
road, you
yeah.
know, they wanted to
so it's
get
just
involved.
like, but $500 here and there, just to run in our TV and scroll it, that's fine, you know? So, like I said, part of my job is like, you have to get creative, you know, because the money, we're trying here, and it's
Yeah.
awesome, and I'm incredibly grateful for what I get, but if we wanna keep doing the progress
Yeah.
and the development, we have to, you know, think outside the box here a little bit. Purchases, I just wanna keep you guys informed, we're really in a good place, baseball, track and field, tennis, boys, volleyball, boys and girls cross country, all new uniforms, new warm-ups and training gear, track and field for girls and boys and girls soccer as well, so that was pretty cool.
And this next piece is something, just so you guys are aware, this is something that's new to John, not so much to us as far as the
Right.
process, but for John.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see, just like everything athletically, he's taken his ball and ran with it. John hasn't been an activity director before, he's been an athletic director.
Yeah.
So when we combine these positions as athletic activities, that's a new concept for some districts.
Yeah.
So just understand that when you see the things that here, this is stuff that he had to learn on the fly and work and build relationships on the fly. But you're gonna see, just like he did with athletics,
It's been really good.
he's
It's
taken
been-
off with it.
Yeah, it's been rewarding, we got, 48 clubs and activities, looking to do the fishing club as well, there's a lot that goes into it. And Jay and I have been talking, but anyways, there's 48 of them, I'm super proud of that. What we did in the beginning of the year, and I put together this athletics and activities interest form, so put down every sport and every club and activity, and then we sent it out to every student in our school, and then we wanted them to either, pick what they're interested in, but they needed to pick 2, or a combination of 2 sports or 2 clubs or whatever the case is. It was amazing, almost to the point where they were like turning kids away, if you could. We had 10 individuals, in our yearbook, the year prior, we had 55 this year. We had 90 that showed interest, and then 50 stuck. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Makes life a lot easier. When you look at our numbers, they just soared. We're gonna continue with this, obviously, especially with our incoming freshmen. We want their connection. We want them to say, hey, there's opportunities out there. A lot of kids don't know, like, what's that all about or whatever. So what we ended up doing, as soon as they filled that out, I compiled them all, I sent them to the advisor reached out, and then could give them all that specific information. If the kids had questions, whatever the case is, they could put a name with a face. It was just a really good relationship builder, right from the get-go.
Yeah. I have a
but pretty
question.
cool. Yeah,
For coaches and advisors.
Yep.
What percentage would you say are teachers or staff that work for the school district?
Every single one. For advisors. For coaches, I would probably say 50%.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking like when we were doing the Raptor training for everybody, I would say probably about 50% of our coaches already got it because we did it from a staff
Yeah.
standpoint.
Yeah.
And that's probably pretty close, and
I'd
then
like to increase that number. I would love to be around 75. Be perfect.
this is a dual relationship piece.
It's great. Accountability, the coaches are in the building, or in the district. It's not always great having, I always felt having, head coaches or coaches in general at all levels is incredibly important. They remember their elementary school, science teacher. Oh, now he's my softball coach.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I remember you, all that stuff. That's important stuff. So.
Provided you have the right person in the right seat.
Yeah.
Correct. 100%. Just a couple highlights, and you guys can kind of read through that, but robotics, incredibly successful this year. Coding club did awesome, rock climbing as well. The next one, HOSA, huge involvement. They had 30 plus students move on to the state championship, kind of give you an idea there. So they had a huge pool to pick from. Their numbers are the largest they've ever been. So super excited about that. There was 3,000 competitors up at state and we placed really well.
Sorry for my ignorance, what's HOSA?
Health occupation specialist.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And, which is great, no, that's good. Forensics, we have 2 great coaches at the high school, super excited about them. We had one person that placed at state, took 6th place, never had that in school history. So super excited about that. FBLA, which we're totally excited about, 171 members, we're going off the nationals, as you can see. We had 67 students qualify for state. So really cool, but probably the bottom one I'm probably the most proud of. If you look at these 4 clubs, they raised $2,000+ to donate to several relief project shelters and food pantries. So really involved, they're giving back, they see big picture, super excited about that. So we want to keep those opportunities alive. It's always tough, finding advisors. I'm finding that out right now. I was pretty proactive. I got all the commitments from all the advisors coming back. I only have a couple that I have to fill because I want to alleviate my stress going in the summer. Last year, they're like, we don't have this advisor, we don't have this, we don't have this. I was just like, what are you even talking about? I was just like, okay, I'll get on it, So anyways, we're in a good place. The goals here, continue to hire and retain exceptional coaches and advisors. That's always the goal. Would love to get 150+ athletes participating in SAS. As I noted, we're very close. Participation numbers, let's keep it over 70%. Still want to increase our multi-sport athletes, okay? I know I spoke at length about that, but that's what I would like to see. Scholar athletes, increase our numbers respectively. I think we're very high right now, but I think we can always improve. Athletic department culture, standards and expectations. It's been a great shift. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from my coaches. I do an end of the season evaluation with all my head coaches. I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I know I have some limitations that I need to work on. However, I've gotten some really, really, really good feedback about the direction of the athletic department and where it's headed and how I'm supporting my coaches.
That's great.
So I'm super excited about that. And then strive to provide opportunities for all our student athletes through athletics, clubs, and activities. That's something that we constantly would like to do. As we have 48, why not have 49, 50 more clubs? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get up to 50, that'll be fine.
We got 2 already,
Yeah.
just this week that are wanting to.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But moving forward in 25-26, I want to rewrite our athletic and activities code of conduct. And then I also want to take a hard look, and at least I want to get the data and everything, because I know we're big on comps, but I kind of want to look at what other school districts in the area are doing as far as coaching compensation that has not been rewritten for a long time. I know we're really low on the start end, on the back end. I would say, I think we're gonna be okay. But my concern is bringing in coaches, with little experience and not paying them, you know? It's kind of like the first year teacher here, you know what I mean? We looked at that compensation and we wanna have the comps that are comparable. So I really wanna look at that, and also our event workers as well. They do a tremendous job for me. We could never survive without them. They are my lifeline, and I wanna make sure that I'm paying them accordingly because they make the event go. If you have good event workers, you're gonna have a great event. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I spoke a little bit about this. I think my strengths are my strong leadership. I think I'm a really good mentor because of my time in the classroom and time as a head coach. I see it through a lot of different lenses. Being a parent as well really helps me working with my parent groups, obviously working with my coaches as well. I think I'm incredibly knowledgeable in all sports. I don't think I've had any favorites. You can kind of see where my initiatives are. A lot of it is geared towards girls' sports and whatnot. You know, we have our bigs, right? We have football, we have basketball, baseball. Those are like our bigs, but you know, all of our athletes deserve, you know, the equality of the athletic department, and I think that's incredibly important that I have that type of support for all clubs, activities, in sports. I think I'm incredibly visible and present. I think I was at 99% of every home event this year, and I was at a lot of away events. So I take a lot of pride in supporting our student athletes and being at their events. And I think I'm personable and welcoming. You know, I'm always working the crowd and you know, making connections and asking questions and stuff like that. So my areas of improvement, I need my job, I'm away a lot, so I need to do a better job, a little bit of balancing my time management and things like that. And then one thing, I'm usually really visible at school, and I wasn't this year, and that bothered me. So I need to do a better job of getting out in the cafeteria. Not that I didn't, I did, but I'm usually a guy that's really visible. Because I love mingling with the student athletes and the students in general, and with the teachers. It's just at times I really felt like I was kind of locked in my office, you know, and I was just trying to get caught up on stuff, but that's year one, right?
Yeah.
You know, so I really want to become more visible during the school day. I think I'm rock solid as far as my events are concerned in doing that, but that'll improve. Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like not just collaborating with students and building those relationships, but staff, which is important.
Oh, totally, right.
It's the culture here in the district,
Totally.
right, that we wanna
Yep.
continue to nurture that
Yep.
and then we continue to be that desired district for staff to wanna be here, and that cycle continues with the students that
Right.
are excited to come to school, and
Right.
so
Relationship
thank you very
building.
much for that piece too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for all the work put into this, you know, and in the words of one of the coaches, bringing the model here was a great move. And that was one of the feedback from one of the coaches, his exact words
Yeah, appreciate it.
about you, so yeah, thanks, this is great. Seems like you're getting a hold of clubs and activities as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is phenomenal, this is what this community needed.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and the vision, and then culture, you've always been, I mean, I was in your interview, and culture was number one on your list. And
Yeah.
I can see the change in a lot of our students, a lot of our athletes, everything, so
Thank
just
you.
being at a lot of the events, so.
I got good support, you know, and it's awesome,
Yeah.
and Dan's been great, and the team that I work with at the high school has been outstanding, and the staff there is phenomenal. I mean, the custodial staff is incredible. Like, those guys are my good friends.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time together.
Well, they're there all
There's
the
a lot of
time.
stuff, and
Yeah.
I'm working with those dudes a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Sarah had brought up the GPA thing, and I think we're gonna hear about that from you in the future.
Yeah.
How we're gonna raise those standards.
Totally.
But,
I've done a rewrite before,
Yeah,
so
okay.
I'm super excited about bringing some of my ideas that I had.
Okay, my one question, I did note down, the attendance and the grade monitoring, that's real time now, right?
Real time.
And the coaches all follow those rules?
I can tell you this, like, it's still cumbersome. Because we didn't get like the Power School, we were still going off of that antiquated like Google Sheet.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and it didn't like cross like my desk until late spring.
Okay.
You know,
And that's
we're
when
like,
it
oh,
came
this
out.
is pretty slick,
Yeah.
you know, this is gonna make life a lot easier.
Right.
And
So
one of
that's
the
the
things
main
when
point.
we were
That's
talking
the
about
main
for
point.
attendance is, it was, the detentions were 400 plus unserved for athletics and
Yeah.
activities.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, we had no way,
Yeah.
you're like, what are we even issuing detentions for? So John Bonner was working with Care Hospital.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, we can do this through Power School, it'll automatically do it, and then Monique, who's doing our detentions, was like on board with figuring out how, when the kids come in now, they do their detentions, they scan their IDs, boom, takes care of it in Power School. John Bonner gets the sheet and get it over to Sean, and that was all within, like, I don't even remember, March to April was like when it kicked off.
Yeah. So moving forward with that,
So much better.
in the fall, we'll have,
Oh, yeah,
let's say a kid didn't serve his detention, he goes over, RS knows about it, no, you're not practicing today.
we all know about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody-
right, well, everybody knows
Yep.
about it.
Yeah.
And then add that to the hall pass component.
I mean, I told the athletes left and right, you're not running the track meet,
Yeah,
like, you know, it's just how it goes,
and that's accountability.
totally.
That's life.
And
That's
not just
culture.
because it was
Yeah.
metric to standard either.
Yeah.
Meters to feet.
Yeah, but it was hard to track, and I do know it's the best it's ever been, according to the administration that was there during those times. They said, you know, it's still obviously it can get better,
Right.
and it needs work,
Yeah.
and it will.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that we had with hall pass too, is that's gonna help not just the athletics and activities, but for all students. for all-
But getting that into the code of conduct as well, none of that's in there,
Right.
you know, if this, then this, if this, then this, it's just
It was
like,
logical,
you
so
know,
that it's not
yeah.
about just
Consequences.
right.
punching the kid in the face, it's like, here's what you need to do.
And they
Yeah.
know, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. D'Amato, I
No,
appreciate
thanks
it.
guys,
Well
I
done.
appreciate it,
Yeah.
appreciate it, you guys have a good night.
You too.
I hope I didn't get too long.
Oh,
You wait for next year.
Yeah.
You'll get a bonus.
No, yeah, it's the end of the year thing. A lot to cover a whole year.
Have a great summer,
Yeah, you bet.
we'll see you in the fall sometime, I think.
Alright guys, take care, and thanks again.
Yep.
I will send that over
Yeah,
tomorrow,
okay.
yeah, tomorrow morning.
Thanks, John.
I just gotta hammer that out and we'll be good to go.
Awesome.
Alright, have fun.
And then Mr.
Alright, see you guys.
Halverson, thank you,
Take care.
John.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alright,
Mr. Halverson's gonna give us a running update of our scorecard.
So we, and you're actually, it sounds like we're doing it on Monday too. Does that sound right, board meeting, 7 minute or?
With you?
I think with everybody, for our strategic plan update.
Oh, yes.
So this will be similar, the scorecard I have is a little different, obviously, because it's a lot of different components that don't necessarily line up with the pillars this year. But if you look at what we've done so far, the biggest one that's gonna be,
You're not.
oh, okay. The biggest one is gonna be on there is gonna be the webpage updates. And that is going to be a substantial opportunity for communications. Right there. Because it's gonna have the app. And the app itself is gonna allow for our elementary schools to have one single uniform communication tool, which is one of the things that we got from feedback last fall.
Right, absolutely.
So as far as like what we wanna do, the webpage so far, what we've been improving on, the quality assurance is still in the high 90s. I mean, we're at like 96 or 97 or something like this week. So all the repairs that we've done to our current webpage are gonna correlate to what we do when we transfer to the new platform. The new platform itself is gonna definitely be more engaging, it's gonna be more modern, but it's also gonna be more like streamlined. Nobody's going to our webpage to look for resources for different things. That's not the purpose of our webpage. And we've got so many resources that have been on there just because we've always had them on there, back to 2002, back to 2005. So we're just cleaning it all up right now. So when we implement that new webpage, it's gonna be a lot more streamlined, but it's gonna be more purposeful in what it is we're doing because we're having that app, which is a single communication device. So I think that's gonna be the most substantial change you see in here. You heard me talking about the SROs tonight about Navigate, which is gonna be our emergency management platform. That's another substantial improvement for what we're gonna be doing compared to Raptor, but it is gonna be a little bit more lifting for professional development. The good news is, it's easier to train on Navigate than it was on Raptor. We trained the whole district on Raptor within 2 weeks of beginning of school year. So we're kind of looking at that as a nice thing. The last big update is with the alert badges, which we started working on at the beginning of last year. We got information this afternoon that we are being removed from one of the 3 grants that we're applying for, the COPS grant, but we're being able to translate into a different grant called a SHIELD grant, with the same grant writing company. The grant writer that works for this company said that it's not gonna be the full amount that we need, but it might be a contributor towards it, which is kind of what we were hoping for, because I don't think it even, we're gonna give us the $500,000. So that'll be something that we started working on tonight and it's due tomorrow. So Caitlin and I have been going back and forth with the grant writer on that, and we'll see. If that goes through, that'll be that $500,000 over 5 years, so I have our alert badges. So that's still up in the air. One of the grants is closed that we applied for. The other one we got kicked out of because of our registration process through the SAM, which is the main housing of all of our grant writing through the United States government. So they moved us into the SHIELD grant in place of the COPS grant. So COPS grant closed on the 18th, so we don't. But other than that,
Hopefully they'll come through.
things are still going.
Yeah.
And still moving forward.
Alright,
And we started doing our Neola updates. Alec and I started working on some of those as of yesterday or Tuesday.
We'll probably hear more about that on Monday too.
That whole process.
okay.
Alright, any future agenda items from any of the members or board members that are present?
Not for
Anything you wanna talk
Do we
about?
have an overall, like, what's normally discussed?
Yep.
Yeah.
I will pull it up right now. Is that what it's just?
Like a yearly review.
Yeah.
How about I turn this back on again, since they keep turning the darn thing on. Alright. So as we look at what we tentatively put in, July would be safety and security updates, and this would be a good one because 2 of those things that I just mentioned are directly related to that type of update too. By July, we should know whether we have qualified or received at least one of those grants towards that purpose.
That's fast.
And RF technology right now has already begun, and I was surprised John had mentioned it, has already begun their beta setup in our athletic field between high school and Ben Franklin. So they started that this week on Monday. So that's already been, they've been out there installing them, they've been doing roof work, they've been doing their setup for their testing. But hopefully we get the grant and we don't have to have them removed, but either way, we're benefiting a local company with technology for safety and security that they'll be able to translate to other realms of their education.
So this is what we planned on talking about, if you
Yeah.
wanna add anything else, you're more than welcome to put that on there and Dana
Okay.
have it
Sure.
on there. But
Mhm.
we'll have Alec come in August.
Yeah.
John again in September to give us a start of the year, school year thing, and then obviously the counselors. So
And then Nikki comes in for food
Yeah.
service.
Food services.
Yeah. it's a
And
big
we-
one, cause
yeah.
their costs are skyrocketing. So we need to figure out, I mean, she's gotta,
Will you scroll, what's
Out of the
January,
box, too.
February? I'm just curious.
No, yeah, okay. In the safety plan, this is because we do it annually, even though we're only required statutorily to do it every 3 years. The safety plan we do in December, building by building, so I'll meet with all the principals again like I did last year. And we'll go through if there's any changes and we'll update those changes too. And then we'll bring that to full board and closed, and then we'll go through the different, anything that's changed or modified. And that all gets approved through the police department, sheriff's department, fire department, and I think that's it. And then I send it to the Department of Justice.
Joel, you got anything you want to add?
No, I'm,
Okay.
just thanks for allowing me to be here with you
Yeah,
guys.
it's hanging out,
Yeah.
like
I'm gonna,
Sarah and I have talked about how long this is, and we get people that are passionate about what we do, and tonight was a great example, I mean,
There's always a lot
Yeah, great
going on,
time.
there's
it's a
so
big umbrella.
much, it is such a big
It's a
umbrella.
big umbrella, yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot to cover.
And again, it's people that, like John said, he's very grateful, I'm very grateful for people I can work with. Cause you can just see the caliber of what we've got for people and what they wanna do for kids.
I'm gonna pass the next meeting date, I'm gonna go past that because
Okay.
we can do that off.
Yep, I can.
Remember to look at their calendars in front of
Did that process,
World.
do we do with the calendar when I send it out for you guys?
the
The
Google
dates,
calendar.
yeah. It seemed,
I don't know what you're talking about.
when we set the dates for
So
tonight.
no, it didn't work.
Yeah, so I guess, next,
I think the way we've been doing it is just we say, okay, I'm on vacation
that date, yeah,
that week or whatever, does this week work for you? The start time for you, you know, those things.
Just keep
We
doing
can
it.
just do it
It worked.
internally. It did not work.
No, like, because that's what I was
Oh,
doing.
what we've been doing, I think, worked.
Working,
Yeah,
okay,
fine.
because that's what I was
Yeah.
doing, is just
Cause
sending you
things
guys
come
the
up, obviously, so,
Alright.
yeah,
Sounds good.
okay, so let's do that.
Okay.
And then I need a motion to adjourn our meeting.
All motion?
A second?
Alright, all in favor? Yes,
Aye.
that motion passes, we are adjourned.
And what's the time on that?
Oh, time is 8:29.